my friends. How's it going, everyone? How's it going? Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to say hi to everyone. I want to talk about roof leaks. I want to talk about roof leaks. I really do. I really do. So, roof leaks, they're one of those things. They can they can come from anywhere, but they mostly tend to they mostly tend to accumulate at they mostly tend to accumulate at the higher points of the roof. So the higher points of the roof, obviously, like you have the peak of the roof, and that's one part of the roof, and yeah, obviously, water flows down, so the source would be, from up there. That would be that's what you would think, and you'd be correct in thinking that. You'd be correct in thinking that. But what if the roof is flat? What if the roof is flat, everyone? Well, in that situation, it's a little tricky, but a roof is never truly flat. A roof, even a flat roof, has a slope to it, any type of slope to it, like it's very subtle, and a lot of times the architects can mess that up, but there's stuff you can do about that. You can build it up a little bit, and you can kind of fix it. So, that's just one of the challenges. Like inside, people see like a drywall stain, and like, oh, there's a leak and it's happening right here. So if you go on the roof to that location, then should be fine, right? No, it won't be fine. It won't necessarily be fine. And that's because the leak is not usual. Sometimes it is, but usually the leak is not where the drywall stain is. Usually the leak, it's at a higher location, and honestly, to be honest, a lot of times, like during like they go to a low location, the water flows to like a lower location on the roof. So yeah, so a lot of times the leak is just happening at a low point where water has collected. So that's you know that that's part of looking for the leaks. It's like water. It kind of just it does its own thing. Like who was it? He said, somebody in the comments tell me. The guy said, Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee. He said, be like water. Just water can cut through things. It can cut through rocks if you give it enough time. So, yeah, a roof is nothing to water. Water will find a way. One way, even the best roof wire is going to find a way one way or another. It will. It will. Shingles last only like 20, maybe like they'll last 20 to 35 years, and there's definitely differences uh, between whether it's like a tile roof or a metal roof. You know, that I'm just talking about shingles. Metal, man, that's metal is gonna last a long, long time. Metal's that's like if someone said, "Oh, I want the best roof, the longest lasting roof," you know, I would just say metal or stone coated metal. Stone coated metal is cool too, but you can never go wrong with just a regular metal roof. You really can't, really can't. It does get hot though. Yeah, and speaking of getting hot, shingles, a lot of the time, they're damaged by, the sun. They dry out, and I've seen shingles that are like, they're basically shingles. It's fiberglass and like tar fiber. It's a tar that's been like mixed with fiberglass and has been like pressed together in like a hot thing, and then you have these granules are either like pressed on top of it or sprinkled on top of it. I don't know the exact process with that, but yeah, like if you see like a lot of times like in gutter cleaning, you'll see like they go in the and most of the time it's harmless if that's the only thing in the gutter. A lot of times I remember the old company I was at, he's like, oh, it's just granules. He's like, oh, then forget it, forget cleaning that part of the garden. It's like, all right, he's a manager, and I followed what he said because he's the manager. What else are you gonna do, right? Um, and they pay me by the hour, so that's I'm just gonna follow what he says, and the one thing that does really help, at least with leaks, is you'll have what's called like a flashing, and essentially it's like it's something where, because leaks a lot of times will show up in horizontal, what we call horizontal to vertical intersection. So those are vulnerable, and then you have like the opposite, like corners. Um, all those places are pretty vulnerable, and if it's really particularly vulnerable, with how I said with metal, this is a way where if you have a sensitive spot, you can give the benefits of there's metal there, and it's like you're like, okay, this particular spot is should be good, for yeah, I can get around the metal because it's not necessarily a metal roof. This is just one part to protect the roof, but it gives you it really helps. Like it really helps big time to have that little piece of metal in these little horizontal to vertical intersections. It's really helpful to have that piece of metal. It really, really is. Um, it's just it's just quite simply, it's just a thin metal barrier that it redirects water. That's pretty much it. Like yeah, they can rust. Yeah, uh, there's lifted edges, um, and anything like that. Uh, but uh, sometimes like there's uh, lifted edges. Sometimes there's people like they don't even. You're supposed to put sealant around them. Uh, you know, ideally you're supposed to, but sometimes people they'll just use the wrong sealant, or occasionally people, they won't use enough. They're trying to save money and stuff like that. So even if you have flashing, still have to install it correctly. That's it's a that's a biggie. That's a biggie because even if you use really good materials, if you don't install it correctly, then what's the point? Um, yeah, I mean, a lot of times, like you have to compare whether it's big rain. If somebody tells me, oh, it leaked when it was a big rain, or it leaked when there was just a drizzle, and then the third one is it leaks like a day or two afterwards, and these all kind of mean like when you hear all these, they all kind of mean something a little different. So if somebody tells me it leaks during like a heavy rain, that's like, okay, that makes like the potential issue a lot more widespread, and you might have to deal with a few things to cover your tracks. In that instance, if it's a light rain, um, if it's a light rain, then you can just look. That should mean that you look at a place that's like more obvious. Like if it leaks from a light rain, that is usually coming from a roof that is at the end of its lifespan. So a light rain, you can you just look at like a part of the roof that's like usually there's something that like stands out. It's like, oh, that little plumbing pipe, or that little little electrical wire that's that's little that's going through there. roof's not sealed correctly. So, or not necessarily sealed correctly. It's just old. Maybe it was sealed correctly. It's just really, really old, and very cracked. And it's obvious with the drizzle. Then the third one, where the water it leaks like where it leaks like a day or two later. In that instance, uh, that more than likely is going to be like, I mean, that's usually on a flat roof. Like, I've never heard of it not being on a flat roof for this instance. And that happens because water pools up during the rain, and because either the roof is old or, the design, and the water pools up. It pulls up on the, you know, like there's a low spot, and it makes like a little pond, like a little mini pond, if you will. Yeah, like it makes a little mini pond, and the water after the rain is just kind of sitting there and sitting there, and eventually it gives in, and then it starts leaking. So that's how it leaks, like a day or two after. It's yeah, these are all fun ones. You kind of become a little detective. So I always like it. I always kind of like it, but if you don't take care of these regardless, then the drywall stain's gonna, obviously get worse. Some people, they just change the drywall out, but I mean, that's that's mostly just changing it cosmetically, and you're really wasting your money, because the next rain, then the drywall is gonna be stained again in that same spot. So that's just uh, something you keep in mind. Some people, they don't notice as much, and that's okay, because not everyone knows every like little construction thing. Like it's the that's I like construction and everything, but not everyone knows like a little stuff for construction. So there's these little things that are easy to miss, and you know can't sweat it if you miss these little things. Like, happens to the best of us. And a lot of times if people have like an attic, then they're like, if people have an attic, then in that instance, like, it can be leaking into the attic for a little bit before it gets the drywall. So I mean, in that instance, it's like, hey, even like a roofer's not going to see it in that instance. So I mean, just all stuff to consider. I mean, either with home design or with like a new roof consideration, just stuff to consider in those kind of instances. For the most part, you know, yeah, it's just either that sometimes like a nail pops up, for whatever reason, like somebody, they didn't use enough power in the nail gun, so that will cause, the nail to never have gone in very well in the first place, and then it kind of pops out. So I've seen that. Long story short, if you leave it alone, it gets worse. You get like, the potentially mold growth after like a certain period of time. There's, I mean, at worst, like, you're gonna have like the ceiling uh, building up moisture, and then but that's just like a horror story where the water like pulls up so much and it goes through, that's just, I've never even heard of that, except maybe a little online videos. But anyways, that's just pretty much how roof leaks work, and I hope everyone enjoyed this little ASMR rant. I hope everyone enjoyed. So have a good one, everyone.